Is that a good brand?
Oh yeah, that's a good brand. That's like it's up there. It's up there. Hey, Chrissy Duncan is going to send her paperwork over this evening and we'll get
Okay.
to you. She's in.
All right. Perfect. Look
Yeah.
forward to working with her.
So
How's
and
everyone
I
doing this
invited.
evening?
I know Stacy McIntosh is going to join us and she's gonna obviously she's already in the deal or in
Mhm.
one of the deals, so she's supposed to be joining as a testimonial.
All right.
In Fort Worth. Shakopee. I think it's
Mhm.
Shakopee. Up here she comes. Oh, there she is. How are you feeling, Stacy?
Oh, today is better, but it has been a
Hey,
long.
you want to know when we were in Orlando, Jennifer, the lady that you spoke with at the booth,
Yes.
I just talked to her today. She has COVID.
Well, I mean that's what I had.
So, oh my God, maybe I had COVID because I was, oh my God, but I didn't get sick.
Well, then count your lucky stars because it sucked.
Yeah, because she had COVID too.
Yeah, I mean that's why I figured I got it was at the conference and
Huh.
but yeah, that oh my gosh, Cindy, trying to get home that Wednesday, I was running a fever, I was vomiting, it was horrible.
Oh my God, because she said the same thing. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mm. I didn't think it, I was hoping it was gone, but I guess it's not.
No, just a different strain.
Fabulous. Well, I know we have a few more people coming in, so we'll give it a few more minutes, but well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Um, she sounded, she said she was down for the count too, so.
Yeah, and this one was really respiratory driven for me too. Like really respiratory, like big giant phlegm stuff
Yes.
coming up and very digestive. Like I the good side, I've lost 7 pounds.
Oh, well, there you go.
Wow.
I'm sure I'll gain it all back, but
So
at least for
all
now,
that
I'm like, yeah.
sushi and pasta we ate is all that was all well worth it then.
That what's that?
All the sushi and pasta we ate was worth it.
Oh, I know having that sushi
Oh, that was good.
before like my it was like my final meal. I'm like, oh, it was so good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good to
Yes.
see you, Stacy.
Nice to see you, Mitch.
Thanks for investing with us. Appreciate you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for amazing returns and yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, where is everyone? We had a lot of people asked to come. Ugh.
It's all
They're
good.
coming in.
Yeah.
I invited
Everybody's
my
excited.
friend, but I don't think he's gonna make it.
Oh, there's 8 people here. How come I can't see 8 people?
I see 8 people
Oh yeah. Look at them. They all are coming in. It's funny, I can only see a few people's faces and that's it.
because I have us spotlighted, pinned to the front.
Oh, no wonder
Oh,
why.
see, Shane's the tech. He's got the tech down.
I was like, I can only see like
Love it.
us. I'm like, where is everyone? All right. Well, I guess we can start and people will pop in and then we'll throw it out on the YouTube again. And that's when a lot of people responded and said yes. So,
Perfect. Yeah, I updated the slide deck a little bit too, so you'll notice some of the differences in there today. We added a lot of the just photographs of the water frontage of the properties, so that we can kind of see it a little bit better too.
awesome.
So, all right.
You know, I always have the link to the slide deck. I don't always open it, so I
Oh,
just
it's
now
okay. I
now
have
I'm
it
seeing your
actually.
picture. So it looks really good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had the girls updated it. This kind of gives it a, just kind of an overview. It has like the drone view and then the water view and all that good stuff. So.
Do you need sharing power?
Oh
Mitch?
no, I'm ready to go. So yeah, I was
Okay.
just waiting on Shane. Shane last night or the other night, he had like an intro.
Nice introduction. I can do an intro.
No, he had an intro of welcome to Mondays and da 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 da. So
Drum roll. No, our normal pitch to profit show is Mondays. So Cindy, with all the excitement, added this in this kind of as a bonus show. So I guess we'll call this the bonus pitch to profit show. How's that? So, and we have a lot to cover. Excuse me. Hopefully, I'm not coming down with COVID. Stacey, talking about it made me cough. So, but we did want to go back over the deals that we have because, as Mitch said, we have some updates, which is fantastic. But we also have a guest coming on tonight, or Stacy. So I'll let Cindy do that introduction and talk about that. Maybe we should do that first. It's up to you, Stacy. What are you thinking?
I think actually, Shane, if you go over the program, then it might make more sense for me then to talk about my experience instead of me talking
Perfect.
about my experience and then maybe people not understanding the program.
Perfect. Gladly. So on that note, we'll just kick it off. Mitch, do you want to lead us out of the gate? Tell us what we got going on, what's new and exciting, what deals we want to talk about tonight.
Absolutely. So I'll share a little bit about myself, just so everybody, if you hear this tonight or in the future, I come from a construction background. I've been in water and fire restoration since I was 10 years old. That's what my family does. They also own a construction development company. So I grew up in this, in fire, water restoration, custom houses, building apartment buildings, and all those different type of things. And so my journey into real estate actually started. I grew up in the construction trade, so I know them very well. I learned how to do estimations. Doing managing projects, budgeting, working with the clientele for all of these various types of projects. And then I decided to venture into real estate and become an agent January of 2007, right when the market was crashing. And so it was actually a perfect time for me, because it wasn't easy, I went through, worked with a lot of people who were losing their homes during that time and helped, people do loan modifications, short sales. We did over 150 short sales during that era. And then also what it did is it allowed me to start working with investors and fix and flippers. So I actually started off as an agent representing investors who were purchasing court step auction properties and bank-owned properties for fix and flip. And so I started working with some of these groups and I was able to show them how to buy on market and off market wholesale deals, short sales, REOs. I did the acquisitions for them and I also managed the construction on the projects and then resold the properties. I did not do all this by myself either. I started off by myself initially, and then I built a team. And so, it takes a whole team of people, whether it's just me as the operator, but we also have Shane and Cindy, and we have a team of 12 rock star ladies that help us manage all of the day-to-day operations, from analyzing hundreds of properties a week to writing offers, comping, determining, which areas, locations, properties to pick out, working with local real estate agent experts and finding great contractors in those areas, to be able to complete the renovations. We have a full acquisition team that analyzes properties and writes offers 7 days a week right now. We also have a full-time property preservation team that handles utilities, landscaping, pools, construction renovations, everything you can possibly imagine from A to Z. Then we also have a full-time disposition team, which works, to rent our when we're acquiring properties for rentals. They're marketing and renting the properties out. They're also dealing with credit checks, background, housing authority, Section 8, You know, and then we just kind of we round table everything. So I spend a vast majority of my time online on Zoom, just like this with my team all day long. And so, you know, it gives us the opportunity to analyze hundreds and hundreds of deals in order to be able to bring these type of opportunities that we're able to partner with all of you on. And so over the course of it, you know, I started off initially, like I said, representing investors. The guys that I initially started with, they were probably doing like 4 to 6 properties per month, just buying from the court step auctions. And when I started showing them how to buy REOs and short sales and wholesale deals, we scaled that up to about 80 transactions at a time. And so we were doing about 20 to 25 fix and flip acquisitions. We'd had about 20 to 30 in renovations, and then 20 to 30 reselling on the market. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then at the same time, one of the groups I was working with, they happened to land a contract with a hedge fund in New York named Colony Capital that was competing against Blackstone during, you know, 2011, 12, 13, 14. And so then we started doing acquisitions for rental properties. And during that time, you know, 2012, 2013, we were acquiring 5 to 15 properties per day. So there's a lot of moving parts. You know, you're working with hedge funds. They want home inspections, video walkthroughs, photographs, termite reports, you know, in order to be able to purchase those properties. So it was a great crash course in like purchasing, you know, a volume of properties for a large hedge fund. And I had the opportunity to work with a couple of different hedge funds doing that. And then at a certain point, I decided to break off on my own. I had built a team already at that stage of my career. And, you know, I learned how to raise capital. You know, we already had the acquisitions, the construction management, and the resale down. We had sold hundreds and hundreds of properties. And so we broke off. And then what I ended up doing was, this was in San Diego, South Orange County, and Riverside. Back in San Diego, when you could buy houses for $300,000 that are now probably worth $1.3 million, you know, so the market's changed significantly, you know, over the years, since, you know, 2011, 12, 13, 14. But, you know, we started buying, properties in Southern California, and we did everything from ground up construction to entry level fix and flips, mid level, all the way up to multi-million-dollar fix and flips. And so we did all over 500 single family flips between 2013 and 2017. And then right about early 2016, I wanted to start becoming an owner, you know, because when you're fixing flipping properties, you don't really own anything. You're just, you know, you're buying properties, you're renovating, you're selling them. And so then what I did is I bought my first multifamily deal was a 4-unit apartment building in Fresno, California. It was an REO property. And same thing, just like this, I went and raised capital. And it was a little different though, because I went into a new market, and all of my Southern California investors, they were so used to like investing in Orange County and, you know, San Diego, and that was kind of like their comfort zone. But I did have 2 investors who actually followed me and worked with me and partnered with me to do the fix and flips initially in the multifamily space. So the first one was a 4-unit apartment building. It was REO, and I bought it, and it was a complete disaster right out of the gate. We had homeless people breaking in. They were kicking the walls in, pooping in the bathtubs. Like it was just like full chaos on tap all the time. And so the great thing about it though is, you know, it gave me the opportunity to interview lots and lots and lots of property managers, home inspectors, contractors, and working remotely. You know, I was in San Diego and it was in Fresno, which is Northern California. So I was able to build up a really good team of contractors, landscapers, you know, all the different repair people, met a really good property manager. And I still know all of these relationships today. These are all still people that I still work for and, you know, do deals with. So from 2016 to now, one of the things I really learned about too is housing authority in Section 8. And so, for example, like the deal that Stacy invested in, we rented that out today, actually. We had a mortgage, that was, we bought a sub-2 deal, and our mortgage was like just about $2,100. And we leased it out on Section 8 today for almost $3,200. And so, our profits, right, going to be, $900, something like that, $1,000 a month on a sub-2 deal. And so,
Fantastic.
yeah, that's a good day, right? I mean, if you think about it, most people who are buying creative finance deals, or no, not creative finance, but let's say the average investor goes out and they buy a rental property. They're probably putting down 20 to 30%, and they might make $100 to $300 if they're lucky, until they get a big air conditioning unit that goes out, or some kind of plumbing problems or backups or something like that, evictions. And so, we're doing it
Usually
two
in
ways.
about month 3 of owning the house.
Yeah,
That's when
right.
I-
Or it's a 1950s house, and next thing you know, 3 weeks after you buy it, the plumbing backs up, and you got to go and deal with all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so I've been doing Housing Authority Section 8 since 2016. Um, the so since 2016, I've bought and sold over 500 apartment doors by just buying mismanaged, deferred maintenance apartment buildings, renovating them using hard money loans, partnering with folks just like yourself to fund the deals, and do the renovations and releasing and reselling. And so fast forward now, I built a complete team. I have 11 rock star ladies in the Philippines that I've taught over the past 3 years everything I know about real estate and construction. And so, they know, they're incredible when it comes to like analyzing, comping, talking to sellers. And Helica also is in San Diego, and she's head of our transaction coordination team, and she's been with me for 14 years now. So she's been through 1,000 transactions. Every type of single family transaction, multifamily transaction. We've done mixed use. We've had 70 Airbnbs. We've done creative finance deals. We're operating in 10 states. We've got fix and flips, in multiple states right now. And so, she, like I said, she's been with me going on 14 years right now. And then, but we have a really good, solid team. It's like a community. And so I know all of these people. I've been to the Philippines multiple times now. I know their families. I've like taken them island hopping. We've been zip lining together and riding scooters, and it's like a family. It really is a great core group of people. And so, so now we've been buying creative finance deals. We're operating in 10 states. We own property in California, Oregon, Arizona, Las Vegas, Colorado, all over Texas. We're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and Atlanta. And so, in fact, this week, I think probably by Monday, Tuesday, we have 3 fix and flips that we just completed in Atlanta and Dallas that are coming back on the market right now. And so then we have a whole nother series of houses over the next 3 to 4 weeks that are also fix and flips coming back on the market as well. And so, I'll go ahead and show you our slide deck. You'll get to see our team, what we're working on. This is a live slide deck too, just so you know. We're always adding properties to this. So if you ever have it and you just save it, you can always look on there and see like what we're doing at any given time. So the name of our company is Homester. And here's me, of course, Cindy, and Shane has all of our experience on here. Kind of just shows you a little bit of kind of everything I just explained to you. From my side, of course, Shane and Cindy, rock star capital raisers, real estate extraordinaires, great partners. So this is our team right here. So we have full-time acquisition manager. We have acquisition team that is literally analyzing properties all day long. We get deals from every which direction. Some of them are on market with agents. Others are wholesale deals. We're constantly scouring all the different Facebook pages, and we have a lot of wholesale and relationships. People just send us deals all the time. We also have a full-time disposition team. that handles, all of the marketing, renting the properties, resale. This is Angelica, who's been with me for going on 14 years. Aya is one of our, she's also one of our lead transaction coordinators. They're all top tier TC also, if anybody's familiar with what that is. So we're also, certified in transaction coordination, full-time property preservation team. So this just kind of goes through, and I'll just kind of give you an overview a little bit of all this. Let me move my screen out the way there. So this just kind of talks about the different marketing opportunities. We have regular rentals, we have Section 8, we've got Airbnbs, we have co-living going on. So if anybody has questions while we're talking about this, or when we get to the end, feel free, write your questions down. I'd love to answer them for you. So we've been in a variation of all these different types of asset classes. So this is just kind of an overview of like how we analyze, our co-living and benefits for co-living. We do have co-living in Colorado right now, and Austin, Texas. So this is kind of our business model right here. We're purchasing properties, either seller finance subject to or hard money loans. And then we raise capital with investors just like yourself. We're doing two different things. We're building a portfolio of rental properties, and then we're also doing fix and flips. And we use fix and flips to pay our investors back so that way, we can continue to build a rental portfolio and continue to add, and fix and flip properties and give great returns to our investors. So this is our acquisition approach. We've got a couple of different ones here. We've got subject to seller financing. We also, of course, have the purchase for hard money loans. This is more geared towards subject to properties on this one. This is a guide of kind of what we do with our co-living properties as well, and how we actually interact with our tenants. This is kind of one of the calculators that we use. This one's actually for co-living. It just breaks down like all of the details of, what we're looking at and how we analyze our co-living properties per bedroom, utility expenses. So this is some of our industry credibility. This might take just a moment just for it to load. So if you have the slide deck, you can click on any of these and watch any of the videos on here. I think there's a couple more down here too. They're just probably not loading right now at this time. But feel free if you ever want to watch those and laugh at me.
I don't know.
I'll take it. I'm very comical, just so y'all know too. I have a great,
Look,
very
here's the place. I'll see it again if you want.
what'd you say? These are actually video testimonials from our investors. These are actually repeat investors too. So for example, Scott is actually somebody that I cold called and back in 2017 and bought a duplex from him, and he seller financed it for me. And then, 8 months later, I went in and, did the renovations to it. We leased it up. I sold it, paid him off. I think he called me probably 4 to 6 months later and said, "Hey, I got another duplex. I'll do the same terms with you, seller finance. If you want to take it over." We just had to deal with evictions, and I'm done. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And so I bought that second property from him, and then after that, he started funding my fix and flips. And so he started doing second trustee lending, and we've done several transactions since 2017. So you can click on any of these two. Kathy Flaherty, we've done multiple transactions. Peter, we've done multiple. CJ, and so yeah, if you want to see any of our testimonials with investors we're still doing business with today, these are actually live investors. And then here is actually a live deal that we're looking to fund right now. So in the slide deck here, this is what I kind of did. We went ahead and the Rockstar ladies on the team, we added some of the photos in here so you can kind of see, like, these are all waterfront access properties that we're doing right now. This property is actually in St. Pete, And so what we're doing is we're actually the hurricane had hit this area last September, and then a lot of people have been fighting with their insurance companies. You know, some people have decided to just cash out. Other people are, you know, kind of in the middle of deciding like, do they want to sell the property or do they want to renovate and move back in? And so there's been great opportunities out here. We're actually buying the houses at 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. And so this property, what we're doing is it is a fix and flip. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. It's 1,850 square feet. This is all of the details. It's in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's probably about 25 minutes from the ocean, from Treasure Island and Indian Rock Beach, which are white sand, like white powder sand beaches. I'm actually in St. Pete right now. So I'm really big on traveling and going to the locations. I like to meet the contractors in person, you know, so that way, you know, there's clarity in everything that we're doing. And so on this property, we bought it for, we're buying it for 480,000. Whoa. ARV, which is conservative, is 1,075,000. We have comps all the way up to 1,200,000. And these are actually recent comps that have just sold. So this is the actual property address right here. This is the total funds that we're raising is 289,000. It's a 6-month term, and the funds actually we actually did get an extension, so we're raising the capital until next Wednesday is when we're trying to have all.
We already got 87, another 87,500
87,500. All
Yeah.
right.
as of last night and today.
Okay, perfect.
Oh,
We'll-
on
we'll
this
get
deal.
this
So,
updated.
yeah.
Love it. So, yeah, so also too, two of the things that we're probably doing different than other operators out there that you've maybe worked with or heard about, we're doing fractional notes. And so this is something that I actually learned back in 2016 in San Diego when I was doing a fix and flip. I bought a property, hard money lender, you know, gave me, I think it was 90% of the purchase, 100% of rehab, and we raised 1.5 million. And then I didn't know this until after we closed escrow on it, and I got the deed. There was 86 investors on the note or on the deed, and I was like, wow, I'd never seen anything like that before. And of course, during that time, you know, we didn't have all of these great groups and communities and Zooms like this, you know, where we can interact and share, you know, our knowledge. And so, but I figured it out very quick. Essentially, it was this investor put in 20K, 30K. And so it was 0.01, 0.2, point, you know, 1.3%, whatever amount that they invested was their equity percentage in that note or that deed. And so last year, I started looking at it. We were talking to a bunch of different investors, and some of the investors out there were working with fix and flippers where they weren't getting paid on the back until the property actually sold, and they were borrowing money on HELOCs, you know, and HELOCs have monthly payments on there. And so I started thinking, I was like, wow. And then, of course, you know, we have all of these different, you know, groups, you know, Gators and, you know, all these different, you know, real estate groups and everything. And I was like, all right, well, what if we started doing fractional notes? But what we did is, you know, and we had all these different investors, you know, that were, that wanted to invest with us. And so, you know, we had people who had SDIRAs, solo 401ks, cash. Some people had HELOCs. Other people were trying to use 0% credit cards. And so we're like, okay, well, what if we just start doing fractional notes? And then, you know, we'll work with escrow and title and their attorneys to draft the deeds so that way, you know, they do all of that portion of it. And so now literally we're able to take multiple investors who have funds from every which direction, you know, STRA, solo 401ks, cash, home equity lines of credit, and even like recently we're able to actually liquidate credit cards now as well. So we can help somebody who has a 0% credit card liquidate it, and we have all these people who are actually able to co-invest together. So what we do is we put you know, when Cindy and Shane send all this information out, what'll happen is we'll have variations of people just like yourself who reach out and say, oh, okay, yeah, I have an SDIRA, or oh, I have some cash, or I have, a home equity line of credit. And so what we do is once you decide you want to invest with us, you'll just let Cindy and Shane know, hey, this is, I want to invest this amount of money. It's either in an entity, could even be under a trust or something like that, depending on if it's an IRA. And I'm the signer for it. And so you just give them the information and you tell them the amount that you want to invest. They'll send out a group email with you and our transaction coordination team, just giving those details. And then our transaction coordination team will actually draft. We do a couple of different things. So one of the things that we're going to do is, let's say, for example, you decide you want to fund today. And it was going to take us 2 more weeks, right, to fund. If you fund, let's say, for example, you're like, I want to invest 50,000. We're like, okay, so what'll happen is our team will draft a note for you directly. When you wire your money to escrow, your interest starts the day that your money is in escrow. So it's not sitting there for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, not earning any kind of interest. You're going to start earning interest. We just started doing this. And so this is kind of the direction of what we're doing moving forward. And it's because we have a lot of different investors, right? And so I was listening to people, and we actually started this, I think it was last week. And so that way it's like, hey, if you decide, yeah, you know what, I want to go ahead and move forward, you send your information into them, they get it over. You always wire your money directly to escrow. And so your interest, will start the day that you wire the funds in. And then escrow and title will actually draft the note and the deed. They usually have their attorneys do that. And then we'll get the deed. We'll send that out to everybody. Once the project is 100% funded, then what we do is we do a fractional note, which means all of the investors are on the same note. So everybody's in the exact same position. Because a lot of times you'll see like somebody will go borrow money from the first lender, and then they'll go get a third, and they'll get a fourth. And next thing you know, there's 4, 5, 6 liens on the property. And sometimes investors don't even know what lien position they're in, right? They just jumped into the deal and they don't know where they're at. Our goal is to make sure that everybody's in the exact same lien position on the property. So on these fix and flips, you're actually in second lien position. The other thing that we do too is that when we're doing fix and flip properties, we set up a Wyoming LLC. So as soon as we actually get a property in contract, we set up a Wyoming LLC for every single property. And then once we know who the investors are that are going to be investing in the property, we add the investors on as members of the LLC. And so the LLC members actually have 49%. So the investors are actually 49% owners of the LLC. For some reason, if something happened to me and I died or got abducted by aliens or something like that, he'd have the ability to move forward, right, without having to deal with a foreclosure or something like that. So that's one of the ways that we're protecting our investors on these fix and flips. They're a member of the LLC, but you don't have to guarantee the notes. You're not signing loan docs. You're not doing anything like that. You're completely passive on that side of it. So once we set up the LLC, once we have all of the funds and all of the investors for the investment, we draft a fractional note. Everybody knows what percentage and who the other people are that are on there. We send that into escrow. They go ahead and they draft the deed itself. The way that investors are protected is you're a member of the LLC. You have a note, personal guarantee, and then usually within 48 hours after we close escrow, we record a second trust deed with a second title or attorney. The reason why we have to record it afterwards is because most of the first trust deed lenders don't want to see a second trust deed recorded the same time when they're recording their first. So that's the reason why we do it after. But we always use either a reputable title company, a second title company, or an attorney that, depending on if it's Texas or whatever state we're working on. But those are the 4 different types of ways that we protect our investors. The other thing that we're doing too, that's probably different than other operators that you're listening to, is we're prepaying your interest to you up front, which means that once we close escrow, within 15 business days, we're going to send you your interest payment up front. The reason why sometimes it takes up to 15 days is because it depends on if it's a weekend, a holiday. There's a lot of different moving parts. Sometimes the escrow companies don't send the payments out right away. Even when we have transaction coordinators and everybody else, that are involved in the transactions, and we send all these detailed instructions to escrow, they don't pay attention, unfortunately. So what we do is we do write all of this out clearly in the note. So that way you can always go back to it. You can always refer to it. You can always see it. And then that way, you know exactly what we're doing. The other thing that we do too is as far as like monthly updates. So the first Monday of every month, we're going to send you an update on the property. We're going to let you know, what we're doing, what's going on, and what the plan is. Even if something goes wrong, we're going to be transparent and tell you exactly, hey, you know what, no matter if it was a rental property or a fix and flip, hey, we ran into a problem. We had to go do some additional permitting, or the tenant ended up in eviction and, moved in and decided not to pay rent. Whatever it might be, we'll always keep you updated and let you know what's going on. And we send those updates out the first Monday of every month. Or our team is very responsive too. So you'll get to know the people on our team. You'll see the emails that are coming in from Aya on our transaction coordination team, even Angelica, who also helps me with wires to investors and repayments and all of those things. So you can also check through our slide deck here as well. But this just kind of gives you also a breakdown of the use of the funds, what we're doing with it. So we break down, escrow, transaction, coordination, down payment, taxes. We build everything in there, so that way, and understand exactly where the funds are all going.
Hey, Mitch, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, please. Thank
And
you.
before you get going, there's a question in the side chat, and I don't want to lose track of it. And I know
Absolutely.
part of the answer, but not the entire answer. So we're looking for you to clarify.
Okay.
When somebody submits their funds to escrow, but the
Mhm.
project hasn't closed yet, so their money's sitting in escrow, are they earning interest on that funds then? Or I know once we take possession of money, we're starting escrow right away.
We just started doing that actually this week. And it's mainly because I interact and talk with our investors, and I listen, to what you guys are saying. So we started doing it this week where, let's say, for example, you decide you want to move forward and we're not closing till next Friday, but you wanted to get your funds in tomorrow. You would sign your note. We would send you all of the escrow contact information. You would contact escrow. Please always contact escrow and verify the wiring instructions over the phone with escrow. Always, always, always. There's so much fraud going on right now. And then once you wire your funds into escrow, your interest starts that day. So even if we haven't closed escrow yet, your interest is already starting that day. And I had somebody ask too, like, well, what happens if you guys decided not to buy that deal? We would roll you into another deal that we have. We have deal flow. So for some reason, if we got into this property and we did something and we figured out something was drastically wrong with this property and we decided to move to cancel it. First of all, if we had an EMD, I'm going to be the one, if I release the EMD, I'm going to be the one who's going to eat the EMD costs. So even if I had like an earnest money lender who brought the funds in here, I always pay those investors back. And and I've canceled deals before. I've taken a hit, $3,000, $5,000, not a problem, because I decided, hey, look, for me, I would rather cancel that transaction right now. I'll lose the $3,000. I'll make it up again. We'll go do another deal. But if, say, for example, something happened and the deal didn't make sense for whatever reason, and we canceled it, we would just roll you to another deal. Your interest wouldn't stop at all. So on these particular deals, though, because we're buying at such a deep discount, we're buying 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. I'm here in St. Pete. I'm walking the properties. I'm meeting the contractors and the agents and, talking to the building departments. These ones I'm really, really, really confident in. But yeah, your interest would start that date. Was that the question, Shane?
Yeah, I believe that clarifies it. And so as
Okay,
soon as
perfect.
money's in escrow, it's earning.
Oh yeah, and so here's how it works too. Okay,
Can I ask
so
you a
let's say-
question on that?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so anybody that puts money into escrow, escrow, grants you like 1% interest. So my question was, are we gaining the interest rate that the that the title company pays, or are we earning 16%? That's the question.
You're earning the 16% based on the daily per diem rate. Yep,
Thank you.
And that's the thing that
absolutely.
Mitch just started because
Yeah.
that is, hey, we recognize that your money's tied up, it's not earning. And so we stepped up to the plate and said, hey, for day one, if it's out of your pocket, we're paying.
Well, and it also what it did, the reason why we just started doing that too. One, I was listening to some of our investors. They're like, "Oh, I had my money in 2 weeks ago, and then somebody else just put their money in today." So one of the things is like one, we want to try to we want to incentivize our investors to get their funds in early, so that way, like we know how much funds we have, and then uh, we could raise the capital, and get to the total capital raise. Plus, also too, like if your funds are sitting in the bank, right? Are they earning 16% annual? Probably not, right? So no matter if it's a HELOC or whatever it might be, we decided to go ahead and incentivize our partners, you. So the day that you actually wire the funds in, your interest starts that day. And then as far as like over here as well, these are our exit strategies, and there's a variation of things too, because we're buying at such a discount, our number one plan is to fix and flip the property, buy it, renovate it, put it on the market. The other option is that I could do DSCR refinance loans, which means that, certain properties too, like we might get them done and it might make sense, for me to refinance that property and just hold it long term as a rental property. So some of them, that's another option, right? We'll go in, we'll do DSCR refinances on the properties because if you take the numbers and all of it, it's like 65% ARV or loan to value. Sorry, it's 65% usually loan to value, which is very easy to walk in and get, a refinance for. These are just some other properties back here. Actually, if you you can click through, you can see some of the other properties that we funded. In fact, these two are the ones that are coming around the market right now. Rieger. This one's actually being finished up this week. Crawford will be done next week. Hosea Williams will be done next week. And then these are just some of the other ones that we bought too, as far as Shakopee. This is the one Stacy invested with us. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you. And so this is what we're doing. So this is a buy and hold property that Stacy invested in. And, so we bought this property subject to, we rented it, we rented it out already. And in fact, we got higher than that $3,000 mark. We got almost 3,200 through Section 8. So that was today. But yeah, so what will happen is we're buying probably one, maybe two buy and hold properties per every 5 or 6 flips that we're doing, So, and then there's just other properties that you can see in here too. This is a co-living property that we bought in Austin, Texas, surrounded by 3 colleges. This actually was this property right here was a fix and flip that somebody did and it wasn't selling. So we actually bought it on owner financing with 0% interest rate. And so like if you see the terms in there, and the reason why we bought it is because we bought it for 700,000. We looked at the Zillow peak value of this house was in 2023, I think it was early 23, it was worth 850. And so because we have a 0% interest rate on this property, we're going to pay off $300,000 mortgage. I think we have a 7-year balloon on this one. But over that time, our mortgage payment is $2,200 a month. We're starting to rent the rooms for $1,000 per room. It's a 4-bedroom. So the $2,200 is principal. It's going to principal directly. So, and then when you look at the type of deals that we do, we always break everything down. We're always telling you what our exit strategy is, what our plan is. But you know what? Again, like I said, when we're buying these properties, and we're giving you updates every month, we're going to tell you the good and the ugly side of it, right? Like if something happens, if there's an eviction or, something, pops up or whatever, we're always going to be transparent and tell you what's going on. So I'll come back to here. Does anybody have any questions about this particular property, or is there questions in the chat?
I think we're all caught up on the chat. Actually, Daniel just dropped in here.
Oh,
If that's the
God.
case, we still get our investment back in 6 months. So great question. What happens if the project goes over, Mitch? Can you explain? Sometimes, especially that fix and flip, even if the project gets done on time, on budget, sometimes the sales doesn't always go according to plan, right? Depends on market
Yep.
conditions. So please, what would happen at that case?
So one of the things we do is we communicate with you every month. So we're always telling you what's going on. So if we get close to the maturity date, we're going to reach out to the investors and say, hey, this is what we're doing. First of all, like the margins that we have in the deals, I've been in real estate for 18 years now, and real estate is not like wine. It does not get better on the market, right? The older it gets, it doesn't get better like wine, right? So, we're not afraid to do price reductions. Like usually within the first 2-3 weeks, like you're going to usually get a really good buyer pool coming through there, and the buyer is going to tell you where the house is really going to sell at. So in that kind of situation, like, say for example, if we had a property right here and we're, have an ARV of $1,075,000 and somebody comes in at an offer of $1 million, sold. We're going to sell it and move on, return cash to the investor. And sometimes like, those kind of things can happen, right? Like maybe we might only get $1,050,000 or $1,025,000 or something like that. But because we're buying deals that have a lot of room and equity in there, I'm not a greedy person. I would just assume get a great buyer in there, get it sold faster, and return capital to the investors, rinse and repeat, move on to the next deal. So if we ever get to the when we do get close to a maturity date, we'll always reach out to you and ask you, are you okay with extending 30 days at a time till maybe we might be in escrow already, right? And we need another 2 weeks or something like that. And so we give that option to the investors to decide whether or not they want to stay in. And sometimes on the fractional notes, we'll have, 3 investors that want to stay in, and maybe one person had an emergency and they just need to get, the funds back because they got to, pay medical bills or something like that. Then we'll pay that investor off. So, and it's happened. Like it's actually it's happened this year where somebody did have a medical emergency and we got to the end and they weren't able to extend, and so we paid that investor off. The other investors were fine. They're like, yeah, I want to continue to get my interest every single month. What happens is if we get to month 6 and you're like, yeah, I'm okay with that, then we'll pay you the interest monthly at that point. So you'll get monthly interest payments if we do extend past that, and it'll be at the exact same rate.
Thank you, Mitch.
Yep, absolutely.
Mitch, I have some questions.
Sure.
So this, you spoke about like if you get your money in early,
Yep.
your money starts earning interest, but I'm confused by that because it's prepaid. So is it going to
Good
be
point.
16% plus some fractional additional interest because you got your money in sooner than most people?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. So here, let's say, for example, you got your money in today and we were closing next Friday. What we would do is when we close escrow, we're going to prepay the 6 months of interest to you up front. And then the additional days that you had your money in escrow, that'll be paid back at the maturity date with your loan. So you'll get another interest payment with your loan back at that time.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, so a slightly different clarification to that, Stacy, is the 6-month timeline doesn't start when you put your money in. Our 6 months starts when
Yep.
we close on the deal, because we need that to do all the renovations and get the house
Yep.
sold. But the days before that, you're still earning interest paid on the other end as a bonus.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, understood. And then second, just on this property, what is your thoughts, especially in the fix and flip world in Florida and the insurance issues that Florida is having? Do you foresee that being a problem trying to sell a fix and flip when people are having such a hard time getting insurance, therefore can't get loans to buy these homes?
So we're actually getting insurance right now with these for all these properties, and we're getting. I'm very very like critical when it comes to like insurance because I've during COVID had 10 fires at different properties, and so I'm very insurance sensitive, right? And I own property in California where it's 8, 9, 10, 12,000, dollars per year. But I always want to make sure I have the right coverage, first of all, for wind, water, fire, and then we also have flood insurance on all the properties. Um, the reason why we're choosing these type of properties that are waterfront is because we want a clientele that can afford that insurance. Because a lot of the times, if we're working with entry level buyers, their insurance is cheaper than ours too. By the way, like for example, they're going to pay a cheaper insurance policy because it's a primary residence versus us as an investor that the property is vacant. But that's exactly why we're picking these properties and we're buying them for 40 or 50 cents on the dollar, and we're buying waterfront properties. These are people who have money. When you drive in the neighborhood, like for me, like that's why I drove a lot of all these neighborhoods throughout St. Petersburg. I've been driving Treasure Island. Um, I'm looking at, our clientele. Next door, there's $300,000 worth of cars in the driveway. There's a Mercedes, there's $100,000 big Ford truck, there's boats, there's all this kind of stuff. That is our clientele. It's definitely not an entry-level buyer community. And and the thing is too is this whole entire area is primarily waterfront property. So it's just a different clientele base. But you're 100% correct. Yeah. We have not had any problem getting any insurance in Florida or Texas,
Okay.
for that matter. And so we have really good insurance brokers. Our main broker is with Goosehead. And so that's where we get a lot of the policies from. But actually, I talked to another insurance broker today that also insures for a lot of the hedge funds in Florida. And so they're actually going to start quoting out all of our properties as well to see if they can get us some better rates as well. But yeah, we haven't had any problem with getting insurance. And then, like I said, the clientele base and with this property too, like we already have comps similar to bedroom bathroom square footage just like this. There's one that just sold for 1,200,000. There's one that just sold for 1,180,000, and another one that sold for 1,160,000. And so we've got really, really good solid comps.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. But yeah, and like I said, for me, I'm here. I'm actually I'm in St. Pete right now. I'm staying in the downtown area. The this particular area is great. I mean, it's a really, really nice area. St. Pete downtown is really nice. Yeah, these are I think it's almost like when I first started looking at it, I went to a real estate meetup last night. It was hilarious. My home base is in Las Vegas right now, but because of the amount of properties we're going to be doing out here in Florida, I'm actually going to get a place out here so that way I could be out here while we're doing all this. Um, but I went to a real estate meetup last night, and four of my friends from Las Vegas real estate meetup were here, and I started laughing. I was like, "Wow, I guess we're all thinking the same thing, right?" And so Aaron and a bunch of the other people from my real estate group there were here. I was like, "This is great. This is great. We're all thinking the same thing, right?" Which is good. So
Actually, I've seen a lot of investor activity in St. Pete. So Cindy and I have another friend who's in the business, and they're buying also in St. Pete. So we had that discussion the other day. So
Yeah.
it's an
Well, you know
interesting
what?
market.
You know what I think happened too? Like late last year, the value these houses. Oh, by the way, a lot of these houses were priced at $1 million after the storm, and then people just started coming down, slowly. And now it's like we're at that point, where it's like we're buying them super discounted, which is where we need to buy them at, right? In order for it to make sense. But the great thing about the properties too is like they've already done the remediation on some of the properties have remediation, some of them haven't. It just depends. But a lot of times they're going in, they're pulling out the cabinets and the flooring and that kind of stuff and drying them out. But all the ones that I'm doing right now, I've walked them. I'm walking the actual properties. I have some of the contractors too, like we've met really good contractors out here. A lot of people ask, well, how do you find the contractors in a remote market like that? What we do is we go in and we look for the comparable sales, the comparable fix and flip sales within a half a mile of the property that have sold in less than 45 to 90 days. If it took 100+ days for the property to sell, we won't buy it. We're very, very, very picky about that, or we'll be really conservative. So we're going to come down like this, $1,075,000. Even though we have comps at 1.2 million, this is like, us being conservative and, we know that we can meet all the obligations and take care of our investors and still make a profit on the deal. But
One of the
yeah,
things I love working with Mitch and his team and their underwriting staff, especially, is you'll find if you start sticking around watching some of these deals from underwriting through actually start closing them. So you start looking at his numbers, they're very, very on the conservative side of things. So when we look at a deal, we look at the after repair values, the holding costs, you'll see that consistently over time, they're very, very conservative. That helps eliminates a lot of surprises. And a lot of that comes from closing on 500 houses and the school of hard knocks. You just kind of learn those things and you start saying, okay, we just tighten the belt a little bit on our numbers. Don't be so, oh man, we can get 1.2 for this. Let's present it that way. Let's hope for the best, but we underwrite for the worst case.
yeah. And also too, have the ability to refinance it, right? In the event that, something takes longer or whatever it is, like I totally would own this house long term. Like if we got it on the market and, and it sat for a little bit or something like that, I just refinance it and turn it into a rental. We looked at the rental comps in this market and they're at 4,500 to 6,500. I was like, I would do that. And then, and I would turn around and pay everybody off and own it for 3 to 5 years. And, we have like I said, we have the ability to refinance and turn them into rental properties. So, but, yeah, really excited about this market. We're doing fix and flip still in Dallas. We still have, we have Atlanta, but when I look at the numbers in those markets, it's not even close, not even remotely close, to what we're doing with these ones right here. And because the sellers are now they're getting very, very, very realistic, um, it's we're gonna, and especially like right now, we're literally analyzing all the properties that are on the market, and I'm driving the neighborhoods and I'm calling out properties, and my team is writing them down, and we're calling the sellers. That's kind of what we've been doing like for the past week and a half, 2 weeks now. And I'll be here all the way into next week. I have one of my really good we actually have local contractors that are going to be working on this property that I've already met with. I've already seen their projects and what they're doing. So yeah, like I said, super, super excited
Steve,
about,
do you want to
about
share
the-
your experience as a lender? I mean, I could share mine, but you're in the same deal I am, so.
Yeah. So I'll back up just a little bit. I have been a private money lender I don't know, maybe this might be my 7th or 8th deal. But not this is my second with Mitch. I started private money lending back in 2022, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I was investing with very green investors. And in one of the situations, so out of those 5 deals that I initially did, I was unscathed in 4 and very hurt in 1. And so then my journey led into some fix and flips. We've been doing some fix and flips. But it, when you come across someone like Mitch that's been in the industry as long as he has, who's done every creative deal known to man, who can look at a deal, know exactly how to structure that deal, what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, it really made me realize that I have a lot to learn, and that I was playing with fire before, and now I feel really taken care of because I'm working with a team that has been in the industry for 20 years that can look, at these properties, that's going to these properties, that's getting these properties at, 40, 50 cents on the dollar when I was, scratching for, 75. And it's been so nice to be able to kind of know that my money is going to be working for me. And when Mitch came out with this whole 16% prepaid, it was an absolute no-brainer for me because the time frame is 6 months. I mean, yes, as he mentioned before, it might run over a little bit, but he compensates for that. But for the most part, it's 6 months, and I can turn around and put money right back into a deal, and I can get 2 deals done in 12 months, which is a 32% return on my money. And I don't know a whole lot of other places or investments that you can do that. And have my money working over here while I'm working on other things over here. I do have an e-commerce business. I have other things going, and I thought to myself, my strengths are over here in my e-commerce business. Why not partner up with someone whose strengths are so beyond my level of expertise that can get me 32% on my money if I do it twice in 1 year? And because it's prepaid, that money starts working for me again in other things. And so I'm super excited that I was introduced to Mitch, and Cindy and Shane introduced me to Mitch and brought me into this because it has been life-changing, and it's allowed us to continue to invest in other things, work on my e-commerce business while my money is working. And I, when you hear, Mitch's experience, and you go like this deck alone, when Mitch sits here and he talks about all the things he's done and all the due diligence that he does, the team that he has, I feel so taken care of versus when I was working with, a single investor from, who's new at this just like I am, and anything could go wrong. The other thing too is he has so much going on that if something goes awry, we're going to get paid back, because whether, if there's a situation with one property, there's, 50 other properties that are working that can, help fund when something might go awry with another property. And the other thing too is, we're dealing with price points at, $480,000 that have an ARV of $1 million. That's quite a spread.
Yeah.
As a fix and flipper here in Tennessee, I'm dealing with, a purchase price of 175. I might sell it for 275 and put, 50, $60,000 of rehab money into it. So the interest or the percentage gain, the ROI is nothing. And I put all this work into it and we spent all this time doing it and we put up our money. And then after we rehabbed it, and dealing with the contractors and pulling your hair out, and then, trying to get it on the market and sell it. And that, like it's all fun and games, like buying the property and rehabbing it, but it's really about, okay, now we're going to put it on the market and what's going to happen. And I have yet to do a fix and flip where we've bought it, rehabbed it, and sold it in 6 months. I think that's now, when I first started this game, like that was kind of like the buzzword, like, oh, 6 months. Yeah, that's never happened for me. We're talking 8 to 12 months. And because something always goes wrong, it always takes more money than you thought, and it always takes longer than you thought. And so I'm honestly, I'm just like, you know what? I kind of want to step back from that game and hand that over to Mitch because he's the professional. And so far, it has been incredibly lucrative and very fun to see when I, wire their money over to the escrow company. And a couple days later, I have a big fat interest payment back in my account. So I've been super happy. I'm going to continue to be a part of this.
What a good conversation we had in the jacuzzi. We were talking about why the pain of fix and flipping and how we like passive investing.
Yes. Yes, I have found a true love for passive investing, but I want to make sure that when I am doing passive investing, that I'm working with people that know what they're doing. And I won't share with you the losses that I had, but it was, Cindy knows it was huge, and so I feel, like I said, I feel taken care of. I feel like very comfortable knowing that I'm working with a team. I'm investing with a team that knows all these different strategies, that knows what they're doing and have been doing it for 18 plus years. And that makes me feel really good.
Thank you for investing with us. Appreciate you for sure.
We greatly
appreciate you.
appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you
you know
so
what,
much.
too? You had a great point, and it's like you said, like, I'm not perfect. I've made thousands of mistakes, but I've learned so much, like, while we were doing it all. And COVID was like very interesting, right? For a lot of different people, like you had to make 2 millimeter adjustments very, very quickly in order to work through, different situations, whether it was um, eviction laws, right? Like moratoriums on eviction laws and material shortages and contractor shortages and all these different things, And I remember when COVID first hit, everybody went into lockdown for the first week, and I was like, I gotta get back to work. Like I got a lot of different things. I got a lot of people to depend on me, and I was back at the projects like a week into COVID. We were figuring it out, and I ordered shipping containers, and we started pre-ordering materials and storing it in the shipping containers. because we already kind of started to see, that trend of, materials and all these different things that were happening. And so, and
Yeah,
a lot of that was just experience.
and only really an experienced investor is going to pick up on that. Like, I've only been in, the real estate game since 2022, and just listening to you on this webinar right now just makes me realize just how green and how much I don't know. And that I feel so blessed to be able to kind of tag along in your journey and profit from it.
Thank you for being a great partner. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is too, is like, even if some of you too, like if you're Cindy and Shane do it too, like, they own other deals too. They're like, and I have just people call randomly, like our just different PMLs and partners stuff. They're like, hey, what do you think about this? Or hey, have you seen this before? I haven't seen everything, but I've definitely seen a lot. I've been through a lot of different, transactions and asset classes, and I mean, even buying businesses. We bought a nail salon this year, you know, and same thing. We've learned a lot of different things about the nail salon, um, business, and but that's the difference too. Is like we're always going to continue to be able to bring a variation of you know, investment opportunities because everybody's a little different, right, on what they like to invest in and all these different things. But you really, the point that you really touched on is it takes a team. You know what I mean? It's just like Shane, me, Cindy, all of you investors, we're all a team together. Because individually, like, some of the properties, like we couldn't each just go out and buy, one, two, three, four, five of these types of properties. But, you know, collectively together, we can do it as a team at the end of the day. And we all prosper from it, right? And the whole goal of it is, for us to be able to give you guys a really good return, give you a safe investment, you know, show you all of the numbers and the metrics and what we're doing and why we're doing it this way. Share, monthly what's going on with, the property, what our plan is. If something changes, we're going to let you know. Hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do this, or this is, this came up. You said it right though, Stacey. And that's the reason why we have contingencies and everything in here, because it always costs more and something happens. A lot of people ask me all the time, um, do you want to do land deals? I'm like, no, thank you. I'm good. I've done land deals. I've done ground up construction. I like predictability. I want to know that I can get in within 6 to 8 weeks and I can complete a project and it's ready for market. And we're either going to sell it or we're going to refinance it or we'll do something like that. Even a lot of people are, I know the big buzzword right now is co-living. I have co-living. Some of us have all probably been to college too, right? That's co-living. It's the same exact model, right? Pad split, same thing, right? Like there's all these different strategies and models and, reconfiguring houses and do all that kind of stuff. And I've done a lot of those kind of things. And so at this point in time, like I really truly believe these are the best investments. And that's why we're doing them.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have any questions? Shane, you put your link in there?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I got stuck on mute.
Yeah.
When
Oh, did you?
Cindy's dream come true. I did, but I will drop it one more time.
So if anyone is interested, click that link. Get on a call with us and yeah, let's get your money working. Doesn't do good when it sits there in your bank making 4%.
Yep. I'll tell you something else too we've had recently. I was sharing a little bit about the 0% credit card. So we are able to help people liquidate that. And the other thing that we've had investors do is they'll use a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, and then they'll invest in one of our deals. We've prepaid them the interest, and then they took the prepaid interest with another portion of their HELOC and invested in a second deal, and then we prepaid the interest to them on the second deal, and they had all the returns to cover their HELOC and, you know, invest in whatever, or put it in the bank or do whatever they wanted to do. And so we've had multiple investors actually do that now. So,
Yeah, and that's again something that we didn't plan on it, you know, when we built that program out. But as soon as somebody figured it out, we're like, that's genius. Is you can get the prepayment interest out
Yep.
working again at 16%. That is just, I haven't done the math yet, but that really skyrockets your
It's
interest rate.
compounded, right? I mean, that's a compounded return right there because you're using your
Compound those
interest rate.
returns over the year. It's just really amazing,
Yeah.
amazing performance.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, well, you know how to reach us.
Thank you,
So
everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys.
You all,
Yeah.
thank you so much. If you have questions or anything, feel free to reach out to Shane and Cindy. We'll answer any questions you guys have and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Hey,
All right.
can you stay on? Because I got a couple questions for you.
Certainly.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Shane, can you stop